Welcome to The PA is In, the show created by PAs for PAs, where codependency with your supervising physician is a thing of the past, optimal team practice is the future, and physician associate has taken the place of physician assistant as the professional title of choice. I'm Tracy Bingaman, and I'm obsessed with redefining what success as a PA looks like and what it feels like. Here you'll find the mindset shifts, systems, and processes I use to escape healthcare burnout and integrate my work into my life. Work-life balance is a myth, and an integrated life where you thrive professionally, not a balancing act, is the goal here. My mission is to help you to grow into a unicorn PA who loves their job, has abundant energy, time to spare, and work-optional financial freedom. The PA is in. Hey there. Today we're talking all about how going part-time changed my life. I normally have my notes up on the computer screen, but today we are going old school. I have a whole notebook of notes about how going part-time changed my life. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm checking my notes and I didn't memorize this whole episode. I have just a little outline here, and I want to talk to you about how going part-time completely changed my life, truly every aspect of my life, of my sanity, of my stress level, my relationships, my ability to connect well with patients. It is all different, and being part-time is relatively new for me. So to give you a little bit of background, I never thought that I would work part-time. I always wore this full-time working mom as a badge of honor. Working full-time as a PA was part of who I am. It was this big part of my identity, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in this episode, reconciling that change in my identity and sort of mourning the loss of that full-time working mom that I was, and how that went for me on a personal, emotional level. So first of all, how this came about. So I've been 10 years as a PA. I've worked in general surgery, I've worked in robotic urology, and now I work in plastic surgery and aesthetics. I've been at my current practice about 2 years. In fact, I was there almost exactly 2 years when I pitched to go part-time, and it was a month or two after that that I officially started my part-time schedule. Now, when I was full-time, I've worked anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week on average. And my most recent full-time job before my current position, I was working 60-hour weeks. So my current position full-time was anywhere from 32 to 36 hours a week. I worked 4 days a week, 3 longer days and 1 shorter day. And so honestly, for me personally, that already felt a little part-time. And my contract was due to renegotiate. So I sat down with my husband and I said, "Hey, Dan, I think I want to ask for more money." And he said, "That's great." And he was very supportive of that. And then I slept on it and I thought about it and I thought, you know what? I really want more than more money is more time with my family, more flexibility and margin in our lives, and more ability to sit down and record episodes like this that are going to reach you right where you need them, and to be able to serve this PA community in the way that I do with this show and my coaching and teaching and courses and all of the things that I do here. Truly, this podcast is a labor of love. It takes a lot of time and energy, and also it's a passion of mine, and having time to pursue it during the day and not super early in the morning or late at night is truly a privilege that existed on the other side of me going part-time. So I decided I want to go part-time. And what we did is we looked at our kids' schedule. We had a couple of kids that were in before and after care because they're now in elementary school. I looked at how much we're paying for before and after care. And if I went part-time and structured my schedule just so, my husband works from home a couple of days a week, I realized that I could offer to take a pay cut that was essentially equal to the amount of money that we would be saving if we pulled them out of before and after care. So that, to me, although it wasn't really about the money, there was something about those numbers being close to equal that made me feel good about adjusting my schedule, because I thought I'd be able to get them on and off the bus a couple of days a week. I'll work less, and the amount that I will make less is exactly the same as we'll save by pulling them out of daycare. And I have more time with them. And that last phrase, "and I'll have more time with them," is so, so important to me. I've talked about this in the past, about previously when we were aggressively paying off our mortgage, when we were first becoming millionaires, when we were getting debt free, when we were really focusing on hitting investing hard. which some of those things we're still doing, but we've paid off our mortgage now 6.5, 7 years ago almost, and have never had a mortgage payment or any debt of any kind since then. During the season, we were aggressively paying down our mortgage. Money was the currency that we valued most. I would pick up extra time. I would work overtime. Dan was picking up extra work as a consultant. We were really focused on making more money so that we could make more financial progress. During this season of life, time is so, so valuable. And I've just come to realize, I know this phrase is overused. Your kids are only young once, but I will only have one opportunity to get my elementary school kids on and off the bus. So I'm so happy that going part-time has afforded me that. Okay. So I asked to go part-time. We kind of went back and forth on negotiation, and I went part-time 2 months ago. And I want to break this down into 3 parts. So, how it has affected me personally, how it has affected our family financially, and how it has affected me professionally in my career and the fulfillment that I get from that career. So, first, let's dive into personally how this has affected me as a human being, as an individual. Going part-time has allowed me to have the margin to pursue passions like this podcast, coaching, and running this business. It has allowed me to show up differently in my marriage, in my relationships with my kids. It has made self-care a more realistic, sustainable thing for me. And I have more time. So let me tell you a little bit about my work schedule is. So I work at my office. Wednesdays, I see patients 9 to 3, and I'm able to get the kids on the bus in the morning and off the bus in the afternoon. Thursdays and Fridays are my longer days at work, where I work 7:30 to 5 or 7:30 to 4. I get there about half an hour before my first patient, so it makes for a 10 or 9-hour day, depending on what time our office closes that day. I don't see my kids as much on those days. I'm still home for dinner and bath and bedtime, or these days, dinner, sporting event, shower, bedtime, depending on the age of my kids. But Dan gets them on and off the bus those days. So I'm able to go either drop my daughter off at daycare and go straight to work, or just go straight to work. And he does the daycare drop off and the bus on those days. I still feel like I could use some more time. So even though Mondays and Tuesdays I'm home, I have this time between when my kids get on the bus and when they get off the bus to pursue my passions, to coach, to work with people, to record podcast episodes just like this one. I still feel like, oh, I could use a little more time because we have 5 kids and a household to run, and my husband is super helpful, but there is a ton of stuff to do around here. And so I'm not sure that I will ever feel like this is too much time, because there are just so many things to do. I sometimes think that maybe I'll feel like that when my kids are out of the house, but that will be almost 15 years from now. So stay tuned for that podcast episode in 15 years of updating you on how I'm feeling about the amount of time that I have. So the second thing is financially, and this was a big one for us. We ran the numbers on what our budget would look like if I was working part-time. And the way that we structured this at my work was that I dropped my base salary, I dropped my healthcare benefits, I maintained my match on my 401k, and I increased my productivity bonus. So because my income was lower, my base salary was lower, because they were no longer fostering me with benefits, I was less expensive for my employer. And so we lowered the threshold for me to get my productivity bonus. So I had to make less money for the practice before I start getting those commission checks or that productivity bonus. We ran our monthly budget on what I'd be making, just my base salary. And we said, what if I don't get a commission at all? What if suddenly my numbers drop off? I make a lot less than I did last year. Could we be okay on just my base salary? And the answer to that was yes. So we have adjusted our budget for these first few months of the year. We're still able to save aggressively, maxing out all of our tax sheltered retirement. We're still able to save for wealth building, investing we're doing outside of retirement. We have one in college and one going to college next year. So we're aggressively making sure that we have enough funds for those college tuitions, and saving for our little ones, for future college tuition or business starting or starting their lives, whatever we're going to do to help them out at that point. So none of that has changed. And those things are very important to me. So at a bare minimum, I wanted to make sure we're still able to fund all of those things to a rate at which we feel comfortable based on the predictions that we've done, based on the ages of our kids, based on the fact that we have college tuition this year and next year, all of those things. So my income went down slightly. I think I'm going to end up about the same at the end of the year, depending on how my productivity is. But we wanted to run the numbers, assuming my productivity was absolutely terrible, just so we would know in the worst case scenario that financially we would be okay. If you're thinking about making a move to part-time and your family relies on your income, make sure you run a budget. Make sure that you can make all of the ends meet and all of the things be okay with the amount of money that you're going to be bringing in with the new salary that you're getting. So at the beginning of this year, when I'm not receiving commission checks, what we did is we adjusted our discretionary spending, or what I like to call lifestyle modifications, down. So less money for babysitters, less money for date nights, less money for things like that, because I wasn't willing to compromise on saving, investing, and college funds. So we decrease some of the other categories that don't matter as much to us. Once I meet my bonus threshold in a couple of months and those commission checks start coming in, we'll have a little more wiggle room to save a little bit more. We'll have more wiggle room for discretionary spending. But to me, the amount of time that I'm able to spend with my family is well worth the adjustment of like less fancy date nights or canceling subscription services if there's like small tweaks to our budget that we have to make. And it's just a really important reminder that even if you're in a great financial place or if you're in not such a great financial place, small adjustments to your budget do make a big difference. And so we have done that. We're kind of walking through that right now and seeing how it feels for our family to have that. And so far, it's going okay. It's okay to not have a ton of wiggle room. It's not great to be in a situation where you can't pay your baseline bills, you can't save for retirement, you can't afford childcare if you do have kids still in childcare. Those things are things that you absolutely need to be able to make the minimums on every month. Otherwise, going part time might not be sustainable during this season of your life, even if it seems tempting. And last but certainly not least, professionally, I have the same sense of fulfillment. I have the same sense of connection with my patients that I did when I was full time. I am more efficient. I am more strategic about how I schedule my appointments, about getting my notes and charting done, about being diligent, about making sure that stuff is done because I don't want it to follow me home at the end of a night. I think I'm definitely more efficient and more focused at work because I know it's these 2.5 days a week. I want to stay on it. I want to be focused. I want to be the best that I can be while I'm there. And also I know that it's like a small part of my week. I have maintained my unofficial leadership positions. I have continued to be a leader in our department, and my practice involvement hasn't changed. Sometimes I will stop into the office for meetings on my days off because those things matter to me, and because that involvement is important to me. I am still passionate. I am still learning, sometimes out of the bounds of the time that I am at the office, and I am still an exceptional PA. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, part-time seems like a watered down, less significant version of being a PA, you can still be an exceptional, passionate PA who takes amazing care of your patients, who stays up on their CME, who is awesome and a valuable team member, and work less hours per day, less days per week, less hours per week, or less hours per month. You can decrease your time and still be an amazing, incredible provider. The value that you add is not directly tied to the number of hours that you work. And that has had some growing pains for me. Someone said, do you think you'll ever go part-time? You'll ever go full-time again? And I have a lot of friends that once they've gone part-time, they have said, never again. I will never work full-time again. I'm not one to say never, because if there's anything I've learned in this life and hosting this show and having your words live infinitely on the internet forever, is that you just never know. That is the one time I'll say never. You never know. I wouldn't say that I will never go full time again. I have a dream that this podcast, that my negotiation coaching, that my life and career coaching for PAs is someday my main source of income. And working clinically, practicing clinically as a PA is someday my side hustle, where I do mission trips, where I do free clinic work, where I volunteer, where I help organizations figure out how to utilize their PAs, whatever that looks like, that is a small part of my income and the way that I contribute to support my family. And a bigger part is this show and the courses and the coaching that I do for PAs to help them to navigate full-time, part-time, negotiation, work-life balance, boundaries, all of those super important things that we didn't learn in school. And that is another reason why going part-time during this season felt right. So in the end, when all is said and done, probably this year my income will be higher than last year, but I'll spend less hours at the office. And for me, less hours at the office is a very important piece during this season. Only you can know if during this season for you that is important and it feels right and it feels like it will work with your family. I encourage you to run the numbers. If you're not sure and you're wondering like, oh, financially, personally, professionally, how would going part-time affect me? I'm tempted, but I don't know how well it would work for me. I encourage you to use the link in the show notes and to schedule a call with me because I would love to talk through that with you, to give you my expert advice and opinion, to help you to see some of those blind spots that you might have not seen previously. But going part-time is something that I would do 10 times again, that I highly recommend considering depending on if it's something that you've been thinking about and if it feels right for your family during this season. If you have specific questions about how it was for me to negotiate going part-time, send me an email at themoneypa@gmail.com. I will do my best to answer all of those questions. And I will see you next week on The PA Is In. Congratulations. You've just joined an awesome club. By listening to a full episode of The PA Is In, you are officially on the Unicorn PA team. Welcome aboard. What most team members do is they subscribe to the podcast because that allows them to automatically get the latest episode of the show. The life of your dreams exists on the other side of taking action. Keep making small shifts and keep getting better. Your life will improve, your career will soar, and you will have the confidence you need to create your own success. I will see you in the next episode. This PA is out.